everyone. Brendan Connor at TSN welcoming you to a night of boxing on our network. And joining me tonight, Stephen Brunt of the Globe and Mail, a longtime fan of the sport and a man who has authored a book on the sport and many writings on boxing as well. And an interesting night, too, because we're going to see a young Quebec boxer, Eric Lucas, from the Montreal area, now lives in Drummondville. And he is going overseas to France in pursuit of a light heavyweight world title. And he will be challenging the title holder, Fabrice Tiozzo of France. And what do you know about these two fighters?
A bit of a tall order for Eric Lucas, I think. Fabrice Tiozzo, by reputation, a very tough guy, a good puncher, a better puncher than Eric Lucas. Lucas is a nice boxer, but he has a tendency to be a little passive, and I think that's going to make it tough for him in the other guy's hometown.
What about going into someone's backyard like that? We're going to Saint-Étienne, France, just south of Lyon for this, and this Fabrice Tiozzo, well-known, well-supported there. And so in order to deal with all the things that you have to deal with going in there, plus the other guy's backyard, as you say, what does he have to do to get out?
Well, it's very tough. You know, we've got out of town, we've got American judges, a Swiss judge here, so it's not hometown judging, but the conventional wisdom is if you go to the other guy's town, you've got to knock him out to win.
Okay, so as Stephen says, a tall order for Eric Lucas from Drummondville, Quebec, as he pursues a light heavyweight title, world title, in Saint-Étienne, France. And let us go now to the Palais de Spectacle in Saint-Étienne as Eric makes his entrance. That's a big crowd to greet Eric Lucas as he makes his way toward the ring. And look at Stephen, he's wearing the red, white, and blue of the Montreal Canadiens. That's appropriate. That was the place he was born, although he makes his hometown in Drummondville. You've seen this guy fight. What chance does he really have against a guy who's 31-1?
Well, he's in very, very tough here. He's taking a big step up based on the people he's fought, based on Bryant Brandon, who he lost to. This is a whole other level for Eric Lucas, but sometimes you've got to rise to the occasion. This is his shot at a world championship. This is his chance to be a better fighter.
And now making his way through the crowd, the man that the crowd has come here to see at the Palais de Spectacle in Saint-Étienne. This is Fabrice Tiozzo. He was a French amateur champion, and now, as of last summer, he is the WBC light heavyweight champ, having defeated Mike McCallum of Jamaica. What about that one, Stephen?
Well, that was Mike McCallum at that point, maybe an old Mike McCallum. He may have been 50 years old when he had that fight, but Mike McCallum is one of the great middleweight light heavyweights of the modern era, really. A great fighter. A win over him still for Tiozzo is a huge victory, and that's what his reputation is made on.
31-1, his only loss to Virgil Hill back in 1993. 6 feet tall and a powerful puncher. This is Fabrice Tiozzo. So it is Tiozzo versus Canada's Eric Lucas here on TSN for the WBC Light Heavyweight Championship of the World. It's 12 rounds. And the referee for tonight, boy, Stephen, this is a guy who's been in the ring with some good ones.
Yes, Arthur Mercanti Sr. did the first Ali Fraser fight, probably the most famous referee in the world right now.
And there you get a look at Fabrice Tiozzo, and in the white trunks, Eric Lucas from Canada. Mercanti telling them to stay in their corners and fight it clean, come out boxing, and I'm looking forward to this, although you don't really think that Eric Lucas got, you think he's in over his head a bit.
Well, I think it's a very tough situation for him. I think what he's got to do early in this fight is show that he's not intimidated by being there, by being in the other guy's arena, by being in this situation. Because I think the last time he had a big fight against Bryant Brandon when he was in Philadelphia, he looked very intimidated and lost that fight for the NABF title.
Well, he looks to be in shape. Once again, Tiozzo in the dark trunks and Lucas in the light trunks. Lucas is sort of the less experienced of the two fighters, just 23 fights and 5 KOs, and that is testimony to the fact that he does not have a great amount of punching power. If he's going to win, it's probably going to be on points.
I think so. But he's going to have to work off the jab, and he's going to have to get Tiozzo's respect. Even though he's not a big puncher here, he is going to have to get Tiozzo's respect to keep Tiozzo away, because Lucas likes to counterpunch. He likes to control the fight that way. He has to show Tiozzo something, though, early on.
Tiozzo really looking, just from his physique as well, like a real bull, and he is the more aggressive of the two right now. Obviously feeling each other in this first round, feeling each other out with a couple of testing jabs, but we've already seen a couple of good combinations, and Tiozzo looking to land that right hand. And I guess Lucas' strategy will be to play it defensively and try to figure things out, first of all. But as you say, respect is a big thing. You got to get that in the early rounds.
That's right. He shot a nice right lead there a second ago, just trying to open Tiozzo up a little bit to surprise him. Tiozzo looks like he's trying to establish the right hand behind the jab. I think that's what he's looking for, waiting for Lucas to lunge in maybe, and then drop the right hand over Lucas' jab.
Some good hand speed shown by both men in the early going, but that is natural enough, seeing as no one has had a particularly tough physical toll taken on him in the early going. But I've seen some good hand speed already from Lucas. He snaps a couple of jabs in. Tiozzo doesn't appear to phase Tiozzo. Tiozzo again on your left of the screen with the tattoos and the dark trunks. And on the right side, young Eric Lucas from Drummondville, Quebec, 24 years old, ranked number 6 in the world. Does that surprise you that he's up that high?
It does, considering he lost 2 fights ago to someone who probably was lower than number 6 in the world. But, you know, boxing's a funny sport. Those numbers, they come up with those numbers in strange ways sometimes.
Eric Lucas has been a pro since 1991. He was the Canadian junior champ at one point, the Canadian super middleweight champ, and the light heavyweight champ of the Americas. That's another one of those fabricated titles that they create for themselves. They don't create for themselves. Some promoter created that somewhere.
It's kind of a AAA title is what it is. It's really just one step below a world title, and it allows you to fight 12-round fights and call him. Pretty good right hand by Lucas.
Caught him there, yeah. Tagged the champion right there, but the champion comes back with a fairly solid combination and a left that appears to get through. A couple another left, trying to set him up for the combos, although Lucas doing a good job of ducking away from the more powerful Tiozzo.
You know, Tiozzo's got very heavy hands. He's got a heavy jab, a heavy right hand, but you also see that his head doesn't move very much. He should be easy to hit. He's there if you want to take the fight to him.
He looks like he has heavy legs, too, kind of plods in around, not much dancing.
Good right hand by
Tiozzo at all. Yes, sir. As the round 1 comes to an end, a couple of scoring punches by Tiozzo there, landing on the younger and less experienced Eric Lucas. We're down to 5 seconds left in round 1, but fairly good exchanges for first round of a fight.
Tiozzo finding a home for that right hand at the end of the round here, though. This is a test of Eric Lucas' chin, I think, right now.
Here's a look at the young wife of the champion, Christophe Tiozzo. I get them confused for a little while because Christophe Tiozzo is his brother, whom you saw fight Sean O'Sullivan, and he was an Olympic fighter for France.
That's right. He lost a controversial decision to Sean O'Sullivan in the '84 Olympics before O'Sullivan lost his controversial decision to Frank Tate for the gold medal. Christophe Tiozzo also held the world title briefly as a super middleweight.
Fabrice Tiozzo, we were seeing his wife there. He's about to be a father in a few weeks' time, and he says that hasn't distracted him at all, and rather it has focused him instead as he enters this fight with the young Canadian from Quebec.
That's Yvonne Michel you see talking to Eric Lucas there, and A.B. Pervin is the man working in front of him. Those are his cornermen. Yvonne Michel, very familiar figure to anyone who follows boxing in Quebec, and a very good right hand on the replay there from Tiozzo that stung Lucas. You can see he's got a pretty good chin.
Well, that will augur well if he's able to take those kind of punches and go back to his corner and still have clear eyes as we get ready for round number 2. We are in Saint-Étienne, France, and it is just south of Lyon, and it is a World Boxing Council Light Heavyweight Championship bout between Eric Lucas from Quebec and the champion, Fabrice Tiozzo.
It'll augur a lot better if he stops taking those, Brendan. Good left hook by Tiozzo to open the round. That's something we haven't seen before. And he kind of chops with that right hand when he's in close. But Lucas has to develop some offense here because Tiozzo's walking right in, nothing to stop him, throwing the jab, setting up the right hand, and Lucas not offering enough back to even make him take a backward step.
Looping right hand by Lucas, just glancing off the side of the head of Tiozzo, but he appears to be the kind of boxer that likes to stand in there and mix it up, and you can see why he has had 21 KOs in his 32 fights. He probably has a very good willingness and capability of ending them quickly, whereas Lucas, we told you, just 5 KOs in 23 fights.
He showed us, Tiozzo a second ago there showed us the uppercut as well, so he's showing the whole repertoire now. Jab, right hand, left hook, the uppercut. Not very quick, but very precise with his punching. Again, he's trying to catch Lucas coming in.
Well, Lucas, to his credit, is coming in, and he's taking some hits when he stands back there, but he's come in and thrown some good combinations, and none that has hurt Tiozzo, but I think that showing some capability to make a pretty good fight out of this. Again, sizing each other up, middle of the ring. There's been some good exchanges here as Lucas continues to come, leading with the left.
Boy, he leaves himself open when he comes in like that.
Counter punch is going to be tough to avoid if he keeps on swinging like that. All right. Well, it's about halfway through round number 2 here. If you're scoring, round number 1 would probably go certainly to the champion, Fabrice Tiozzo of France, who landed a couple of combinations, including a right to the chin that we showed you in replay.
Again, there's Lucas leaning in, trying to make some offense, but he comes in with those punches wide and really leaving himself way too open for Tiozzo, who's willing to stand there, take those left hooks, so they block that one, for the chance to counterpunch, and especially to the chance to drop the right hand.
Now, you saw Eric Lucas fight in Montreal, and there was a fight that he won that you thought he didn't, actually.
Against Charles Oliver, I thought a very close fight, certainly, against someone he was supposed to beat. That was the idea. He was more of an opponent, a bit of a slicky, a different kind of fight than this. But I thought Lucas was life and death to win that fight, and mostly because he just wasn't busy enough.
Again, this is Fabrice Tiozzo being the aggressor and waiting toward Eric Lucas. They have some pretty stinging exchanges in the middle of the ring. A lot of looping left hooks. This is the 175-pound weight limit, of course, the light heavyweight division. And Tiozzo is the current WBC light heavyweight champion, having won that, defeating Mike McCallum of Jamaica last summer.
You know, again, you watch Tiozzo. He's kind of crude. His punches are slow to get there. He does things like that. He throws the right lead and opens himself up. But I think he's just so much stronger than Lucas, so much more powerful. And right now, that's the difference.
We are at the end of round 2. Let's take a break here on TSN as we will be back to Saint-Étienne, France after this word.
We are proud to present.
In the world of beer, one beer has attracted the world's attention.
Now it's available here in the UK.
A beer invented by Canadians,
Guten Abend, danke schön, Canada.
now enjoyed worldwide.
Gracias, Canada.
Labatt Ice. Ice smooth, ice blue. How far can one beer go?
Thank you, Canada.
Hey, you're welcome.
For many mutual fund companies, this is their shop floor. At Tromark, we do things differently. We invest in companies, and the only way to really know a company is to walk their shop floor. That's how we find investments that help your money grow over the long term. Before we invest your hard-earned money, we invest our time. Tromark Mutual Funds, we manage to outperform.
Plug into the computer superhighway in the McCain Multimedia Sweepstakes. Win one of 30 Macintosh Performers, Apple's ultimate home computer. Send one product code from your favorite McCain Pizza Pockets, fries, or fruit punches, along with your name and address to Box 1441, Station A, Toronto, Ontario, M5W2E8. Macintosh Performer is everything you need in one box, with CD-ROM, modem, software, and more. Enter the McCain Multimedia Sweepstakes today.
You know what they say about Canadians,
We're very clean.
and we'll tell you why.
Come clean, so to speak.
It's because Home Hardware has a complete line of home brand cleaning products.
We make them
And test them.
to guarantee they'll keep everything just the way we like it.
Clean.
When it comes to cleanliness,
You can't beat homemade quality. You're not that clean around the house.
Welcome back to TSN's coverage of the WBC Light Heavyweight Championship bout between Eric Lucas of Canada in the white trunks and Fabrice Tiozzo in the dark trunks. He is from France. This is in Saint-Étienne, France. I'm Brendan Connor with Stephen Brunt, and we're into round 3. First 2 rounds obviously go to the champion, Fabrice Tiozzo, who seems pretty undaunted and unintimidated by the challenger from Quebec. Stephen?
A pretty easy night for Tiozzo so far. He's just been walking in. It's almost been like a sparring session, landing those big, heavy punches, and really Lucas hasn't done much to discourage him.
He kind of wades in, Tiozzo does. He kind of reminds me of some of the big lumbering guys that Ali fought during his days in the 70s. Kind of a Chuck Wepner, Joe Bugner, those kind of guys.
Well, it's funny. He throws heavy punches, but yeah, he's very slow off the mark. And I think somebody who was quick, who could counter him, would give him a lot of trouble. But right now, Lucas is laying back and really just taking those shots.
Lucas does show occasionally some decent hand speed. You see a couple of shots to the body and those looping. There's a good combination. A little charge by Eric Lucas, who gets through with a couple of good punches and rocks the champion. And gets a little stir from the crowd as well. So a good little combination there and some points for Eric
Well, there's
Lucas.
what he needs to do. To change the pace of this fight, he had to go after Tiozzo, try and get his respect. And he's landed some good shots.
Throwing a little wildly now, and down goes Eric Lucas. Probably got a little too aggressive there, a little careless, and he goes down as the champion with a counter punch. Tucks inside one of those roundhouse attempts by Eric Lucas.
Well, there's the problem when a guy who doesn't have a lot of power goes charging in against a guy who does have a lot of natural power, because Tiozzo caught him with a right hand square and hurt him.
Eric Lucas is up off his feet, though. Doesn't seem to have been too badly hurt by that knockdown. And maybe it was one of those off-balance situations more than anything, but he actually takes a right hand there to the side of the head and may be in more trouble than we think, Stephen.
Oh, I think he's in a bit of trouble. He's fighting back gamely, but really Tiozzo did hurt him there, and he's landing clean shots. You see the left, right, and then Tiozzo going down to the body, which is something he hasn't done before in this fight, trying to open him up now with Lucas covering.
Yeah, and Lucas actually has stung Tiozzo a couple of times on the side of the head with almost no effect. It's one of those situations where the guy has got the pretty hard chin and the pretty hard head and doesn't appear to be fazed by any of those blows that Lucas is sending.
Well, he's not a banger, and look, he's standing right in front of Tiozzo now. Tiozzo's just teeing off. Nothing's coming back right now from Lucas. There's the body shot again. He's taking a beating right now. He's going to have to get on his bike and move a bit, at least show Tiozzo some angles.
This could be a long night for young Eric Lucas from Quebec if he is going to continue like this, taking quite a bit of punishment as the champion now stalks the young challenger in this WBC light heavyweight title fight in Saint-Étienne, France. You hear the crowd. Oh, a shot to the liver there, and you saw the arms come down to cover up by Eric Lucas. I think Tiozzo knows exactly what he's doing, Stephen, as we come to the last 30 seconds of round 3, another flurry in the middle of the ring.
Well, Lucas' game again, he landed a good right lead, landed it flush, and it didn't do anything to Tiozzo. Lucas tried a little bit of lateral movement here in this round, but really he stops to punch. He moves and then he stops to punch, and that's when he gets in trouble. Those body shots are starting to land. Those are heavy, heavy body shots from Tiozzo.
And Eric Lucas not moving much, takes another one right to the jaw as we come to the last few seconds of round number 3. A tough round for Eric Lucas, who took a fair amount of punishment there. And we will stay with you in between rounds here and follow Eric Lucas back into his corner. Let's take a look at that knockdown, Stephen, in round number 3.
Well, Lucas was getting a little brave here. He landed a left hook, missed the left hook badly, left his shoulder turn standing right in front of Tiozzo. Easy pickings for Tiozzo to land a right hand.
Was that a particularly hard blow that Lucas took, or was it more of an off-balance situation where he went down?
I think he hit him pretty square. You can see there just the way his head was turned and the way he buckled from the punch. I think he took a pretty good right hand.
Yeah, I guess I'm not in there taking him, so I can't really say how hard they are. But here's another hard right hand that he takes later in the round. The kid is game, but as we've said a couple times, can't take that kind of punishment, and we would presume that is what his handlers told him as he was heading out for round number 4. Get some angles. Don't give Tiozzo quite such a flush shot at you, because it could be a long night otherwise.
Well, and I think the problem so far, though, for Lucas, that when he has tried to box Tiozzo, when he's tried to move a little bit, he just doesn't throw many punches. He's not very busy. And so he just allows Tiozzo to plod after him, and eventually he stops, and eventually Tiozzo hits him. He's got to move and punch. He's got to throw the jab, throw flurries, and then get out. And that's what he hasn't been doing so far.
As we've said, only 5 KOs in 21 fights for Eric Lucas, and so that would suggest not a ton of punching power, not a ton of finishing power, whereas the other guy, the champion, 31-1 with 21 KOs, so he does have the ability to put people to sleep.
You know, and he has felt Tiozzo's power now, and if Lucas has a tendency to be a bit passive sometimes in fights, that's going to show up even more now that he's felt Tiozzo's power. Just felt it again there. Another good left-right.
Good crowd out at the Palais de Spectacle in Saint-Étienne. It's in the Rhône-Alpes region, about 40 minutes south of Lyon, and a very busy industrial city and a university city, so a lot of young people and a lot of young people following the sport of boxing. This is going to be a site for a lot of the 1998 World Cup soccer as well, but right now, on this night, they are focused on boxing and on the light heavyweight champ of the world in the WBC ranks, Fabrice Tiozzo, as he lays a beating pretty much on young Eric Lucas from Quebec.
Not much work for Arthur McCandy. I don't think we've really had a clinch in this fight so far. You know, I don't know if Lucas would be better off at very close range fighting inside. Right now, though, he's fighting at Tiozzo's distance. Tiozzo's absolutely catching with the end of his punches, just where he wants him to be.
Well, you know, frankly, from a spectator's point of view, you like to see this kind of fight because there is not the clinching, the leaning, the grabbing. It's just an exchange of punches. But you know, the stuff I've seen of this ilk before suggests that it won't go too much longer.
Now, Lucas landed a couple of punches. He landed another bad body punch. He landed a left hand there. But again, it's one punch here, one punch there, and then Tiozzo throws a series of jabs and comes back to the power shot.
And they're not having much effect, as we've said, on Tiozzo, who seems to be a pretty tough and pretty resilient guy.
See, when he's inside like that, when he landed that punch, he had to throw 1, 2, 3 more and then get out. I know he's afraid right now, afraid to get countered, not afraid to be in there. And that's why he's not opening up quite as much, because when he did, he got knocked down.
Lucas continues to do the moving, although not enough, as Stephen has pointed out, and Tiozzo continues to do the stalking, trying to cut down the ring on the challenger in the white trunks. I see some blood appearing on the shorts there of Eric Lucas.
It could be.
I don't see any blows that would have drawn any blood, and there hasn't been enough clinching, as you pointed out, to be any butting of heads, but boy, there are some solid punches being thrown there, too, as he's got to get out of that corner.
Tiozzo's, it's repetitive, but he's a very heavy puncher. When he throws punches, they all have authority.
We're in round 4, coming down to the final seconds. A little more of a spirited round by Eric Lucas, and didn't take quite as much punishment, I thought. Certainly not as bad for him as round 3.
No, he's much more in the fight right now, although I think still lost the round.
All right, we'll take another break here on TSN's coverage of the WBC Light Heavyweight Championship from Saint-Étienne, France. We'll be right back.
Excuse me, what do you think about the shape of Kellogg's Rice Krispies?
I don't know, it looks oval.
Let me put this grain of rice next to it. Notice anything? No. You may have noticed that they're both shaped like rice, because each Kellogg's Rice Krispies is made with a real grain of wholesome rice.
Rice Krispies is made with rice?
The heck did you think it was made with?
What the heck did you think it was made with?
10 pins. A ball. Hardwood playing fields. And the right frame of mind. Bowling. It's a contact sport.
Welcome back to TSN's coverage of the WBC Light Heavyweight Championship fight in Saint-Étienne, France, between Eric Lucas of Quebec. He is in the light-colored shorts, and the current champion from France, Fabrice Tiozzo, in the dark-colored shorts. I'm Brendan Connor with Stephen Brent from the Globe and Mail.
Yeah, very tough night so far for Eric Lucas, although he showed some signs of life in that last round, I thought. Got a little busier, a little more confident maybe after the knockdown the round before.
Fabrice Tiozzo is from this area of France and therefore has the big support in the Palais de Spectacle tonight. And they're obviously very thrilled to have a world champion from France as well, because French boxing goes back a long way, but there was a big hiatus there where nobody from France was a world champion.
Well, I think the first two French world champions, Georges Carpentier, the great light heavyweight, everybody remembers, the boxing historians remember, he's the guy who fought Dempsey, was a very big glamour boy in the 1920s, and battling Siki, a very great fighter of the 20s. But really, there was a huge gap. There was Marcel Cerdan in the 40s, a great middleweight who tragically died in a plane crash on his way back to try and win the title back from Jake LaMotta. Between 1959 and 1989, no Frenchman held a world championship in boxing. Right now, there's been 9 since then, and I know the titles are fragmented, and there's a million more titles than there used to be, but really, it's kind of a bit of a golden age for French boxing in the late 80s, early 90s.
Fabrice Tiozzo is some would call him a plodding fighter, some would call him just an aggressive and determined fighter as he cuts down the ring on the young Canadian. That's some good hand speed right there, shown by Eric Lucas, as he took a beating in the first 3 rounds and has sort of changed his style, going low there, but they're showing me good hand speed, Stephen.
He is, and this is what he's got to do. He's got to let his hands go when he's inside. He took a good right hand on the inside there. He's got to let his hands go when he's in there and then get out. Can't stand there and let Tiozzo come back at him, because Tiozzo is so much heavier puncher.
This is a scheduled 12-round fight, and it is being officiated by Arthur Mercanti, the famous referee who's been in for a long time and with a lot of big names, but he's had not much work on this fight because these guys are here to box. No clinching, no leaning, although it is only round number 5.
Again, now Lucas he's a little closer to the mark again this round. He is getting inside a little bit. He's throwing a few punches, and he seems to be stepping out a little more before Tiozzo can unload on him. Good left hook by Tiozzo there, though.
Kid's coming back, though. Eric Lucas coming back as he takes the left hook, absorbs it, and then throws some stuff back at the French champion, and in fact the WBC champ right now. You, in looking at their records, though, and having seen Eric Lucas fight, weren't sure that he was ready for a world title shot.
No, not really. And look, Tiozzo hasn't got the greatest record in the world. He hasn't beaten a lot of great fighters, but he did beat Mike McCallum, who's a lot better than anyone. Now, here's Lucas opening up and getting brave, and that's dangerous for him. We already saw that earlier in the fight.
But you think that he needed a few more fights in the States, perhaps, before getting a world title shot? He didn't do so well when he went down to Pennsylvania.
Well, the thing is, Brendan, he's coming off a loss 2 fights ago in Pennsylvania against someone who's not as highly regarded as Tiozzo. But when you get your chance at a world title fight, it's better to take your shot there than to maybe lose somewhere for a lot less money with a lot less glamour. You might as well get your shot at it.
And good TV coverage in this one. This is going all over Europe, of course, and we're happy to bring it to you here on TSN as we come to the end of round number 5. Again, Eric Lucas giving a good account of himself. We'll take another break here on TSN, and we'll be right back after this word.
This is reality. 64% of Canadians are worried they won't save enough to retire comfortably. Do you know where you stand? This is a reality check. Call now to find out how much you'll need to ensure a secure, comfortable retirement and to receive a personalized program designed to help you reach your goal. The information required to plan for your retirement is just a phone call away. The Scotia RRSP Reality Check.
My restaurant, my kids, my backhand, these things mean a lot to me. But if you're anything like me, your life doesn't revolve around your hair. I want my hair to look great, but I want it in about 38 seconds. So I use Pert Plus. It does what I want, and it does it quick.
Pert Plus is the complete shampoo and conditioner in one, so you get great looking hair without all the fuss. Pert Plus. Great hair, no fuss.
I'd love to stay in shot, but I'm kind of busy.
And we are back for round number 6 of this WBC light heavyweight title fight on TSN between Fabrice Tiozzo, the Frenchman, and the current WBC champ in this weight category. He's in the dark shorts. And Eric Lucas, the 24-year-old Canadian from Drummondville, Quebec. His record 18-1-2. He has been a pro since 1991. And Stephen, he seems to be getting a little better in these middle rounds.
Well, I thought the last round was certainly Lucas' best of the fight. I actually gave it to him, although I was probably being a little overly generous. But right now he's standing and taking shots from Tiozzo again. He took a very good body shot to open the round and then a really hard right hand there that I think hurt Lucas.
He bounced him off the ropes pretty well, but Lucas gamely coming back again, and this has got to win him some respect, certainly from not only his opponent, but from the people at ringside and the people watching here across TSN. Brendan Connor with Stephen Brunt of the Globe and Mail, happy to bring this to you. This title fight involving a Canadian overseas, and as Stephen has alluded to, it is tough to go into someone else's backyard, especially a world champion, and get any kind of a decision or any kind of a break from the people giving the points, etc. But at least the boxing, not much holding and not much waltzing. This is a good exchange of punches and good flurries in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, but, Brendan, it'll win him respect and it'll win him the crowd to some degree, but it won't win him the fight. He can't stand in exchange with this guy. You think of the only person to beat Tiozzo so far is Virgil Hill. Virgil Hill is a safety-first fighter who just lives off one hand, lives off the jab and the hook, essentially, never takes any risks, and probably won an incredibly boring decision over Tiozzo. That's how you beat this guy. You don't beat him standing in front of him and trading punches the way Lucas is doing.
But if he does give a good account of himself, say he lasts the 12 rounds here, Eric Lucas, and wins some respect, does that maybe position him for a better fight in the future?
Well, I don't know. Being brave and getting beaten up doesn't necessarily, there will be people who will fight him because he looks beatable right now. But I think, I don't think he should. The problem is he doesn't have power. He's not an explosive puncher. He's not a very good puncher at all. And I think he's going to get points for bravery here, but he can't win this fight, the fight he's fighting right now.
We are in round number 6 of a scheduled 12-rounder, and Fabrice Tiozzo, who came out very, very hard in the first couple of rounds and laid some real punishment on the young Canadian, has seemed to be content in these later rounds to stand back and wait his chances now and hope that Lucas makes some inexperienced mistakes, which he has a couple of times, as you pointed out. Another good flurry of punches in the middle of the ring, and Lucas definitely does have the hand speed.
Well, he does. He has the speed in this fight, and he's the better boxer. And if you look at Tiozzo, he's really throwing one punch at a time right now. He's slowed down, not throwing the combinations. The problem is everything he throws is with bad intentions. He throws heavier shots, and eventually, if Lucas comes wading in like that, he's going to get nailed again.
I tell you, I saw Lucas sting the champion on the chin right there, and it was like a mosquito. I mean, this guy has got a stone jaw. He can really take a punch as well. Probably why he's the champion right now.
And not a bad round there for Lucas. He's in the fight. He's throwing punches. Might have even landed more punches, maybe even won the round. But I just think long-term, that strategy is not going to get him anywhere.
Let us follow the champion, Fabrice Tiozzo, to his corner. Again, he is the brother of Christophe Tiozzo, and also Frank fought professionally. Christophe Tiozzo was an Olympic fighter for France in 1984, fought Sean O'Sullivan, so quite a background, quite a lineage there. Fabrice Tiozzo with the thick build. Looks like he did some brawling with his brothers back in the old Tiozzo household, I'd say.
He certainly looks like a strong, tough guy. He fights a little bit like a street fighter. He's very straight up, nothing fancy about him. Just comes in and throws his shots. He puts his shots together nicely. Can throw a decent, crisp right hand, loops the left hook a little bit. But again, his secret is his power, his durability. It'd be interesting to see him in with someone with power equal to his own. There's that right hand that he landed that I think did shake Lucas' legs up a little bit on that one.
Again, you saw a caught view of Fabrice Tiozzo's wife, who is expecting, and he is about to be a dad, and with those hard hands to use, diapering babies, as you know about, and so do I.
Indeed.
Both being fathers here. We're into round 7. Saint-Étienne in France, south of Lyon, for the WBC light heavyweight title fight. Happy to bring it to you here on TSN. Eric Lucas from Quebec, trading blows with the champion, Fabrice Tiozzo of France, in the dark front.
Tiozzo just ripping those shots now. And Lucas really standing. He's got to get on his bike. He's got to use his legs here. He seems to just forget about his movement every once in a while, goes into a shell, but Tiozzo's punching right through that shell.
And some of those body shots, too, are really going to take their toll. Most people think that it's the head shots that do the most damage, but you and I have both seen fights end quickly with the right shot to the body.
Well, certainly that, plus they'll pull Lucas' arms down eventually. Good left hook there, and a right hand to follow. They're going to pull Lucas' hands down and make his head that much more vulnerable as he tries to protect his body.
He is taking some shots here now. Everything he throws is being answered by one, and I'm wondering if he's in a little trouble here in the 7th round, Stephen.
Well, he looks a little bit more worn out, and that was actually a good body shot by Luca. Tiozzo complained about it, but he's got to keep the lateral movement, and he's got to punch off the lateral movement. He can't stop the punch the way he's doing. There's what he's got to do. Get in, punch, move.
Stick and move, is that what you used to say?
Well, he's not ever going to be Ali, I don't think, but he can get out of there.
Good philosophy, though, and if more boxers use that philosophy, they might all be in better shape. Eric Luca needing the big blow and looking for some kind of a big blow, and knowing that he can't win on points here, probably in France, in Tiozzo's backyard, so wanting to get lucky with one of these, and so far, not doing much damage to the champion from France.
See, occasionally he seems to get in a rhythm where he does exactly what he should be doing, and then he just goes to sleep and stands there in front of him, puts his hands up by his head, and Tiozzo's just punching right through that guard.
Yep, I saw an uppercut get through there, and too much of that, and he'll go to sleep for good.
You see that heavy jab from Tiozzo, and a good right uppercut.
A little less dancing now, a little more moving. This is where you get the odd headbutt, inadvertent sometimes, but that kind of stuff can open up cuts on the upper part of the eyebrows. A wild looping right hand from Luca lands nowhere near the head of his opponent.
He's lucky Tiozzo didn't counter off that.
We're in round number 7, the scheduled 12-rounder. Big crowd at the Palais de Spectacle, and we're in the last 30 seconds here. And this one has been, the way Luca is taking this round, it would seem, it suggested the last round of the fight. There's some desperation, I find, to his approach in this round.
He got stunned by a right hand in that sequence in the left hook. He gets brave, he opens up a little bit, and then inevitably he gets hurt.
As we've said, Tiozzo looks like a brawler. It looks like he would like nothing less than to stand there and trade blows with this guy until somebody falls down. That seems to be the style that Tiozzo would love.
You can understand how Virgil Hill, a fighter like Virgil Hill with a lot of good boxing skills, very hard to hit, would just eat someone like Tiozzo. He'd have no trouble with Tiozzo at all.
Let us listen into the corner of Eric Luca after round number 7. Continue. So we heard his handlers there ask him if he wants to continue. Let's continue. Yes, he said yes, I do want to continue. Now he's getting some advice.
Juste à déplacer une fois à gauche, une fois à droite, donne des angles, quand une chance.
We take a look at the replay here. Again, a blow gets through by Luca, but the counter punch by Tiozzo, a lot of damage, and Tiozzo lining him up here. 7 action, a blow, an uppercut between the pipes, and did some damage, but he's got the clear eyes. And there is a certain Eric Luca fan who's a little bit worried as they start round number 8.
Now that was, some of that's motivating in the corner. I don't think they were necessarily ready to stop the fight between rounds there, but I think they wanted Eric Luca to understand that he's not looking good, that this is a desperate situation, and this is a world title shot. This is probably his only world title shot as a boxer. You've got to give it everything tonight.
Well, we'll wait and see if Eric Luca was able to heed the advice of his handlers, who no doubt, like Stephen Brunt here, have said, got to move a little more, don't be a target for this guy because he can do some serious damage. As he has had 21 KOs in 32 fights on his way to the WBC light heavyweight title, Fabrice Tiozzo.
I think that early knockdown probably took Luca out of this fight in some ways. I think psychologically took him out of this fight. I think he's been a different fighter since then, and this is a fight where he had to really fight above himself at a whole other level, at a level he's never reached before in order to win, and his concentration would have to be dead on, and really it hasn't been.
It's a long way up from Eric Martin in Jonquière, which was his last fight, to a world title fight overseas, having to deal with jet lag and a bunch of other things, and having to deal with a relentless pursuit by Fabrice Tiozzo and the power punching for Fabrice Tiozzo. So his last fight could hardly be counted for this title shot as he takes a right hand on the jaw.
And you can see him standing square up to Tiozzo now, standing in front of him. And really, Tiozzo, even though Tiozzo is very plodding, Luca's right there for him most of the night. And he'll take those flurries. Tiozzo will take that in order to open Luca up and try and deliver the kind of punch that knocked him down earlier.
Yeah, last flurry just was glanced off forearms anyway.
Tiozzo just looks so much bigger, so much stronger.
175 pounds, the weight limit in this category, the light heavyweight limits, and Eric Luca just at the upper end of that, as is Tiozzo. Both close to the maximum, and here's a good exchange as they trade punches. This looks like an Olympic bout, one of those 3-minute free-for-alls where they just go for broke. And this draws some reaction from the crowd as well, as young Luca taking it to the champion, but again, not doing much damage, although he did catch him a couple of times there.
Yeah, but it didn't seem to have any effect on him, and Tiozzo landed a good left hook there. I think took Luca's legs out a bit. Tiozzo's just teeing off. He'll take those little flurries just for the chance to land one big one, and most of the big ones are landing. Yeah, look, at Tiozzo's hands are low. He's hittable. His head's right there. He doesn't move his head. He stands right in front of Luca. Luca just doesn't have the power to change the fight that way. The only way he changes the fight is to box.
Another looping left hand from Luca. Misses, but he is still on his feet and still game as we wind it down to round number 8. That was a pretty good flurry in the late going, the last 30 seconds of that round, as Tiozzo thinks he won that round and gives the thumbs up sign to the crowd as we go to the corner again with Eric Luca from Quebec in this scheduled 12-rounder. We're into round number 9 after this break. And I guess even that is a pretty good effort from Eric Luca, given his record and given his inexperience compared to the champion.
That's true. You know, some of these middle rounds are close. The last 2 or 3 rounds could have gone either way. But I suspect that given the power differential and given the fact that this fight is in France, even though it's not French judges, 2 Americans and 1 Swiss judge, that these rounds are going to Tiozzo.
There's another look at the flurry here as they just trade punches.
Tiozzo's he's crude in a lot of ways. Those aren't pretty textbook kind of punches, but boy, there's something on them.
Well, I don't think she should be quite so concerned because her husband is in complete control of this fight. He is the world champion, and this is the challenger, Eric Luca. He makes his home now in Drummondville as they come out for round number 9. And once again, it would have to be a bomb of a knockout punch to have for Luca to have any hope of winning this fight.
Well, see, this is the problem because you're getting into this is like the late innings and you got a singles hitter at the plate and you need a home run. Eric Luca isn't going to knock a lot of people out, but really he's getting into the territory here where he's going to have to knock out Fabrice Tiozzo to win.
And I guess that would make him a little more aggressive and take a few more chances, and that could end up with him on his back on the canvas, as we've seen in other fights.
Well, he may decide what a lot of fighters would decide in these circumstances, which is I want to last to the end of this fight. And, he may realize he's not going to knock this guy out. He may just say, I want to go swell.
I guess that's not bad in some people's books to say he went 12 with the world champion.
It certainly would look better than being stopped in the late rounds, which is the other alternative here.
Presuming he does last 12 rounds, so what will happen to Eric Luca's career? Will he continue will he win some respect and get some more fights in Europe? I wonder. Will he be back to the States or will he be back to Canada?
Well, I think he'll be back to Canada probably. Although there is a market in France, and I'm sure he's made some fans here just by being so game. There he is, firing back, but again, Tiozzo waiting to counter, and there it comes.
Great flurry here in round number 9, and here comes the counter, as you said. Tiozzo hardly hurt, and a little bit of tape dangling from Tiozzo's wrist, and Arthur Mercanti stops this bout for a moment, presumably to get some tape onto the gloves of the champion Fabrice Tiozzo as the tape has come loose, and that can be dangerous when that happens.
Well, that's right, because it can cut or it can get in someone's eyes. They'll always stop the fight. Sometimes they'll retape the gloves. It's the sweat usually that makes the tape come loose. Mercanti stepped into the ring. Mercanti's had a very easy night. He's known as a referee who actually intervenes a little too much in fights generally. He seems to like being on camera. But in this fight, he's actually stayed back and done a pretty good job. Not much to do, I might add.
Halfway through round number 9, and they are back at it. The little pause didn't change anybody's attitudes or strategy because they are in the middle of the ring exchanging flurries. Eric Luca in the light trunks and Fabrice Tiozzo in the dark trunks, and he is the much celebrated French champion and a Frenchman who is world champion in his weight class. And as we've said, the French are pretty happy about that because they take their boxing very, very seriously, dating back all the way to Georges Carpentier in the 1920s.
Tiozzo just kind of stalking here, plodding in after Luca, digging those body shots, and waiting to counter every time Luca opens up.
Great exchange there. Again, Luca catches Tiozzo a couple of times, but doesn't seem to do much damage, hardly even stops him. It's like hitting a bull with a 2x4. Doesn't really do much.
Luca just landed a really nice uppercut in that last sequence. Nice, crisp punch, hit him right on the chin. Didn't do anything at all. Yeah, you look at Luca and you wonder if maybe he's a weight class too heavy right now. Maybe he should be fighting at 168. He just doesn't seem to have the strength to fight a real light heavyweight like the guy he's in with. He just doesn't seem to be strong enough.
And as we said, this is a guy whose only loss came to Virgil Hill, and Virgil Hill is there's no shame in that. Virgil Hill's a pretty tough boxer, and Fabrice Tiozzo has that's the only blemish on his record, and that is the end of round number 9. We'll be back with round number 10 here on TSN after this break.
Psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis, dandruff. Symptom, persistent, itchy, flaky scalp. Solution, Neutrogena T-Gel. It works. Neutrogena T-Gel Shampoo.
This is the worst.
Sounds like a cold for NyQuil. NyQuil's a cough syrup, a decongestant, and a pain reliever.
And NyQuil lets you get the sleep you need.
When your cold is at its worst, NyQuil is at its best.
Yeah, I took the high endurance challenge from Old Spice because I didn't really think it could work better than my old deodorant. But it does. It evaporates less quickly, it also lasts longer, protects better against odor. Now you got proof. Guaranteed.
Y'all ready for this?
Meet Happy Gilmore. He was a hockey player.
Don't you ever touch my puck!
Now he's going from the rinks to the links.
You want a crux punch? I'm your caddy!
He's got the swing.
He's doing this!
He's got the drive. This guy sucks. He's got the ball.
All right, let's go.
Adam Sandberg is Happy Gilmore.
Starts Friday, February 16th with theaters everywhere. Hey, pocket lovers! Introducing new McCain Deli Lovers Pizza Pockets to set you on your jet. Let's go, pocket lovers! McCain made them just for you. They make them with their best, so they taste the cut above the rest. Seasoned beef, salami, 2 pepperonis, Canadian bacon, and more in a crust that's baked, not fried, so there's no leaks, no mess. McCain Deli Lovers Pizza Pockets! The new taste to set you on your jets.
Psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis, dandruff. Symptom, persistent, itchy, flaky scalp. Solution, Neutrogena T-Gel. It works. Neutrogena T-Gel Shampoo.
And we are back for round number 10 of this WBC Light Heavyweight Championship. I'm Brendan Connor with Stephen Brunt from the Globe and Mail, and the site is Saint-Étienne, France, south of Lyon. And the fighters are Eric Lucas in the white shorts. He is from Quebec, and the world champion, the WBC Light Heavyweight Champion in the dark trunks, Fabrice Tiozzo of France. In his own backyard, pretty much, with the crowd definitely behind him, and with this fight very much in control, Stephen.
Very much so, I think. Now, Lucas doesn't look like he's ready to go anywhere right now. He looks quite fresh, actually. He's got a little bit of bounce in his legs. But he just has not been able to solve Tiozzo.
Every time he lands one and you think, oh, that one might sting, boom, back comes the counterpunch from the champion, and it ends up stinging Lucas.
So he's got that, when he moves, he's much more effective. There's no doubt about that. But he's got to do what he just did there, which is land 2, land 3, and walk away.
Interesting point you made last round. What if he lost 10 pounds and went down a weight class? Would he be any more successful? Well, the lack of punching power has got to hurt you at the 175-pound weight class.
See, that's hard to know because it depends on whether he has to bleed down to get to 175. You know, it depends what he walks around at. He may be walking around at 185 or 190 pounds. But, you know, if he could make 168, which is the next division down, you'd have to think he'd be a little more effective. He just doesn't seem physically strong enough to deal with someone like Tiozzo, who clearly is a real light heavyweight.
As I've said a couple of times, though, I really do like his hand speed, and that serves him well in these fights, but I guess just not enough pop. But faster hands, I think, and faster feet, certainly, than Fabrice Tiozzo. But he's fighting against a guy who looks and fights like a dock worker from Marseille. I mean, the guy's got the solid chin and the look of a boxer, and I think that he's just in over his head, I think, young Eric Lucas.
Well, if you look at Tiozzo, really, from the opening bell of this fight, he hasn't had to change what he's doing once. He's done exactly what he wanted to this entire fight, fought exactly the same fight, hasn't had to alter it for 1 second. It's almost like a sparring session for him. Good right hand there by Tiozzo. And Lucas tried a bunch of different things, but really he hasn't been able to make Tiozzo think that he's in with somebody that's going to threaten him. Another good right hand.
This is round number 10, and once again, Eric Lucas taking some punishment from the champion. I haven't seen many defensive skills from Fabrice Tiozzo. I'm trying to picture him in there with somebody who's more seasoned and someone who has some punching power. I guess hence the loss to Virgil Hill. You mentioned Virgil Hills as sort of a one-hand puncher, and here Arthur McCanty is stopping the fight once again. I guess another problem with the tape, this time the other hand of Fabrice Tiozzo. Once again, the tape problem, they cut the tape and back at it into the middle of the ring. We're in round 10 in a fight that, for some people, will be surprised that it's gone this long. Last 30 seconds of round number 10. Young Eric Lucas, I think doing well just to stay in there with a veteran and a very, very tough opponent like Fabrice Tiozzo.
Now you can see how Tiozzo beat Mike McCallum though, because Mike McCallum at this late stage in his career isn't very busy. He's right in front of you. He's not a huge knockout puncher at 175, and Tiozzo could out hustle him, and Tiozzo does land punches. Pretty good right hand there by Lucas.
Yeah, I guess so. Lucas getting in there, and the looping left hand misses as round 10 comes to an end, and we will follow the champion to his corner. And he's got to be happy with. He hardly looks winded, Stephen.
He looks very, very comfortable, and he's looked very, very comfortable in this entire fight.
Yeah, he doesn't look winded, doesn't look worried, and knows that there's only 6 minutes left between now and the end of the round, or the end of the fight rather. And but Eric Lucas, while offering a spirited opposition tonight, hasn't really.
Fresh tape, then tape on top of the tape.
Here Arthur McCanty demanding some tape, a new tape job on his gloves. And as you said, it's the sweat that causes the tape to come unstuck, so they want some new tape. And here it goes.
Dry it off with a towel.
I guess that could potentially cut somebody if it came apart.
That's right. It could get in someone's eye, I think, is as important. They're going to have to delay the round here to do it.
C'est bon, là. C'est bon.
That's all right. I respect Eric Lucas. I think that's just fine.
A little more rest for Eric Lucas. And they do hold up the start of round number 11.
On top of the drive. Keep going. All right, bring it up.
Nobody minds the extra rest. And here they go for round number 11. Fresh tape and all. Arthur McCanty is deciding that he wants to earn his paycheck because he hasn't been busy tonight at all, as you mentioned.
And he likes his camera time. There's no doubt about that.
Tiozzo, the aggressor again here, coming after the young challenger from Quebec.
And Lucas pressing the fight a little bit, trying to push him back in the corner, but he tried that a few rounds ago and ended up on his back.
That left hand looked like it got through. Again, not much damage, but...
I think Tiozzo's hittable, and I think a good, precise puncher with some power would give him trouble. The problem is Lucas is a good, precise puncher who doesn't have much power.
Sort of pawing at Lucas just there, looking to load up on the right, I guess, and Lucas is going to stand there, as you pointed out. He's an easy mark for the right hand when it comes, but it usually comes in a counter situation. It is usually Tiozzo coming back with the right hand after being punched by a left.
Well, Tiozzo tries to open up. He throws 2 jabs, double jab. Lucas drops his left shoulder and leaves himself open for the right hand coming across, and he's landed that a few times. That's what, when Tiozzo's leading, that's what he's doing. But he's also content to counter here. There's the double jab, and he's waiting to bring the right hand across eventually, or go down to the body.
And then the uppercut gets through. He's got through with the uppercut a couple of times in the last few rounds, and boy, those do some damage when they come through. They snap people's heads back and set them up for more.
And you can see Lucas' legs. There's not much there right now. He's not moving very much at all anymore.
Little warning from McCanty there to the champion as we're halfway through round number 11. This is scheduled 12-rounder. It's for the WBC light heavyweight title, and not much chance of the title being taken away from Fabrice Tiozzo of France. Stinging left hands.
Heavy jab. Power jab there.
Tiozzo talking a little bit to his opponent now.
Lucas, the aggressor, trying to make the fight, knowing how far behind he is, no doubt. But a very dangerous strategy for him anytime he comes straight in against this guy.
We were talking about giving him some angles, giving the guy some angles so he's not quite able to deliver the flush punches that he is. What a flurry here by the champion on the challenger. Lucas getting the worst of that little exchange as it looks like Tiozzo wants to get busy now and do some work.
I just don't think Lucas has the legs left at this point in the fight. I think he's there now. He's anchored right in front of him, and that's a very dangerous place for him to be.
We're coming down to the final seconds of round number 11, 30 seconds to go. And I thought he was going to be in some trouble there as round number 11 was coming to an end because it looked as if the champion wanted to maybe finish it up a round early. A lot of good exchanges, though. It's been an entertaining fight from that perspective and a lot of punches for the judges to count.
And Lucas right there. He's game. You got to give him that, boy. He's right in Tiozzo's face here.
Uh-oh. That one hurt him, and he is lucky that it's only 4 seconds in the round because saved by the bell. Eric Lucas is saved by the bell, and a little exchange after the bell that wasn't terribly courteous by either fighter.
The left hand, a little left hook or a left uppercut was, I think, the most powerful punch there. But really, Lucas walked into 2 or 3. He's tired at this point. And really, I think he's a beaten fighter at this point.
Well, 11 rounds are in the books. 1 round to go as we're in the corner with the champion, Fabrice Tiozzo. And you hear some of the crowd jeering after the punches after the bell.
Right hand to the temple, and then the left uppercut. That was the one that buckled him.
Oh, yeah, that hurt. And as he backs up, Tiozzo comes after him some more, talks to him, taunts him a little bit. A couple more punches, more taunting. Of course, they speak the same language, so the taunting will be understood. And you get another look at that uppercut. Tiozzo unable to finish him off as round number 11 came to an end. And now you're in Eric Lucas' corner, and his handler saying, let's just try to last through the final round as they come to the middle of the ring and clap hands and head out into action. Now, Tiozzo, the champion, look to finish him off here?
For sure. Yeah, no, he's looking for a stoppage. He thinks he was just a few seconds away from a knockout at the end of the 11th. Lucas will be in survival mode. He's got to get his legs moving.
And the crowd sensing that, starting to get to its feet, starting to call for a flurry or two by their player, Fabrice Tiozzo, hoping they can see a knockdown or a knockout. Well, I guess the question becomes, can he last? And he is, again, giving a game account of himself. Got to get some points for being valiant in this case.
No, he give him lots of points for that. But, boy, he's taking a beating here in this last round.
And Tiozzo does want to finish him off. You're right. And there goes that tape problem again. I don't know if the referee will just let this go, seeing there's only a few seconds left in the fight. But, no, he comes in, breaks them up. I guess he hasn't noticed the tape coming off the right wrist of the champion. But it's a half round to go here. And Lucas is taking some punishment, but handing it back as well. I think Mercanti knows that this fight is just about over, and he will let this go.
Good left hook there from Tiozzo. Now he just backs off. He's going to let Lucas come to him.
Why would he do this now? He's sort of... spent his effort trying to put the guy away, and then he'll just wait till the end of the fight?
Well, maybe, except I think maybe he wanted him to come in, open up, and maybe hit him with one last counter shot to put him away.
We're in the final seconds of this 12-round title fight for the WBC light heavyweight title, and the champion, Fabrice Tiozzo from France, is sent back to the corner now once again, and Mercanti will take out the scissors and cut that little bit of tape off. There's only probably, by my count, under a minute left to go in this fight. And Eric Lucas still on his feet, the young man from Quebec, winning some respect here, no doubt, in the boxing circles and certainly in the crowd, I would hope. They've had a good night of entertainment as they come to the middle of the ring and flail away like a couple of barroom brawlers. Roundhouse punches from the hip.
Good right hand there by Tiozzo. I just figured Tiozzo was a better barroom brawler than Eric Lucas. Tough body shot he hit him with there.
That's what they call in the business the left to the liver, and it does some damage. But again, Eric Lucas still wading in as he takes some more punishment as this round and this fight comes to a close, and the last blow goes to Eric Lucas. And there is the bell to end this 12-round fight, and Eric Lucas still on his feet, and in fact, the aggressor as the fight came to an end. So I guess his handlers have to be pretty happy with that. No doubt about where the points total is going, but Eric Lucas and Fabrice Tiozzo with a pretty entertaining night of boxing.
Well, that's right. You see Lucas raising his hands there. I think he's claiming the moral victory. I don't think he thinks he won the fight, but I think he thinks he went 12 rounds with the champion of the world, and really on this night, maybe that's the best he could have hoped for.
And Fabrice Tiozzo over to talk to some of his people in the first row there, and comes over and shakes Arthur Mercanti's hand, and then goes over to the corner of the young challenger from Quebec, Eric Lucas, and says good fights to his handlers and to his opponents.
Very gentlemanly fight tonight in all ways. Everybody seems very happy. The referee didn't have to do anything, hardly any fouls. Very nice for two guys who were whacking each other.
The foregone conclusion, the decision certainly, but we'll be coming back for the decision as we take a look at the crowd here in Saint-Étienne saluting a valiant effort by Eric Lucas from Drummondville, Quebec. We'll be right back with the decision here on TSN, a night of boxing for the World Boxing Council light heavyweight title from Saint-Étienne, France.
Face it, shaving is a pain. It's a blast of real refreshment.
Go for McCain. Get the jump on taste. This next Nissan needs no introduction.
And we are back in Saint-Étienne, France, and ready for the decision in the ring. Really no surprise that the world champion in the WBC light heavyweight category, Fabrice Tiozzo of France, retains his belt. Stephen, you had it scored fairly one-sided for Fabrice Tiozzo as well?
Yeah, really a pretty lopsided score. I had it 118-109 for Tiozzo, a 2-point round for Tiozzo for the knockdown. I gave Luca 2 rounds. You might have been able to give him 3, maybe even 4, but I think that's about it.
And he accepts his congratulations from the crowd here in Saint-Étienne, France, and he is still the champion, and his record goes to 32-1. Eric Lucas, the young Quebecer, goes to 18-2-2. So once again, we're happy to bring it to you here on TSN as Fabrice Tiozzo retains the belt. So there you have it, an entertaining night of boxing, and some people would suggest that Eric Lucas probably gave a good account of himself, hanging in there as long with as tough a fighter as Fabrice Tiozzo.
Yeah, I think Lucas was brave. I think he was durable. I think he did maybe as well as he could have been expected to do in that situation. But what you see in Eric Lucas there is really his problem. He just couldn't step up against world-class opposition. He's been in 2 fights in his career with 2 world-class fighters, and he's lost them both really in the same fashion.
No shame in losing to a guy, though, who's also fought Virgil Hill and lost, so a pretty good fighter in Fabrice Tiozzo. Now, that was about 3 weeks ago in France. What happens to Eric Lucas now? Where does he go from here?
I suspect he goes back to where he was before, which is being built up as a local hero in Montreal, beating probably some lesser opposition, getting a few wins on his record. He's already the Canadian champion. He already holds that. And then maybe down the road, another shot at world-class opposition.
All right, we'll see you in the future if we hear from Eric Lucas. That is all the time we have for you tonight on our Night of Boxing on TSN. For Stephen Brent, for the Globe and Mail, I'm Brendan Connor. Thanks for joining us.